several things on my mind. It's good to have haters because they can make a great fuss of you that people who are neutral towards you just wouldn't bother. So today I went on Twitter and revisited the topic of secular Koranism, and there was just a whole bunch of stuff going back years and years and years and years. And basically I said hi to all my haters and they all kind of immediately responded, and it was most gratifying. So thank you, haters on Twitter. Of course, you guys should follow me on Twitter as well as on Telegram. And I went on Twitter in particular to remind everyone that Ed Dutton, whose channel, Jolly Heretic, will be discussing secular Koranism tomorrow. That's what is really going to happen. He's got a Muslim called Rob Dufour, who's Canadian, and well, they'll be discussing Islam tomorrow. How can they discuss Islam in the context of the West without discussing secular Koranism? I have no idea. I have a feeling, though, that Ed Dutton is a little bit reluctant to discuss it, a little shy, and in fact he has blocked me on Twitter. So he may be persuaded through super chats or something. You can, I'm sure, post in the live chat to ask him, what he thinks about it and all that kind of thing. But I know he is a little bit reluctant. But anyway, this is all you have to. This is something for you guys to look forward to. Otto Weininger. The name is familiar. What about him? I'll look him up. Born 1880, Jewish goldsmith. Austrian philosopher. Published a book called Sex and Character, which gained popularity after the age of 23. Parts of his work were adapted by the Nazi regime while at the same time denouncing him. Oh, what did he say, really? Masculinity and femininity, Jewishness and Christianity, critique of the zeitgeist. So he said on masculinity and femininity, everybody has a mixture of masculine and feminine characteristics. And he talked about the nature of genius. Are you saying I'm a bit of a genius? Mythic Dawn. Hello, Leonora. Thank you for mentioning Sheikh Imran Hussein. I am aware of him, of course. I think he is promoting some kind of conspiracy theory. I don't know about that. But yes, I'll certainly have a look. Where was I? So Otto Weininger. Okay. Let me just read it because it sounds quite interesting. Sex and Character argues that all people are composed of a mixture of male and female substance and attempts to support this view scientifically. The male aspect is active, productive, conscious, and moral stroke logical, while the female aspect is passive, unproductive, unconscious, and amoral stroke illogical. It sounds very yin and yang, you know. Winding argues that emancipation is only possible for the masculine woman. For example, some lesbians that the female life is consumed with the sexual function, both with the act as a prostitute and the product as a mother. The woman is a matchmaker. By contrast, the duty of the male or the masculine aspect of the personality is to strive to become a genius and to forego sexuality for an abstract love of the absolute God which he finds within himself. A significant part of his book is about the nature of genius. Weininger argues that genius never applies solely to a specific field such as mathematics or music, but there is only the universal genius in whom everything exists and makes sense. He reasons that this quality is probably present in all people to some degree. Perhaps to me in a greater degree than most, perhaps. Yes, apparently Weininger committed suicide in the home where Beethoven died. So we don't know why he killed himself. Why did he kill himself? He shot himself in the chest. He suffered from depression. All right then. So next thing was Jewishness versus Christianity. In a separate chapter, Weininger, himself a Jew who had converted to Christianity in 1902, analyzes the archetypal Jew as feminine and thus profoundly irreligious, without true individuality and without a sense of good or evil. That's not really true about Judaism because of its many rules. Christianity is described as the highest expression of the highest faith, while Judaism is called the extreme of cowardliness. Surely the other way around. Weininger decries the decay of modern times and attributes much of it to feminine or identically Jewish character. By Weininger's reckoning, everyone shows some femininity and what he calls Jewishness. It sounds a bit nonsensical, to be honest. But I liked what he said about the about masculinity and femininity. He makes a critique of the zeitgeist on Jewishness, decadence, and femininity. Our age, which is not only the most Jewish but also the most effeminate of all ages, an age in which art represents only a pseudarium of its humours, the age of the most gullible and not anarchism without any understanding of the state and justice, the age of the collectivist ethics of the species, the age in which history is viewed with the most astonishing lack of seriousness, historical materialism, the age of capitalism and of Marxism, the age in which history, life, and science no longer mean anything apart from economics and technology, the age when genius could be declared a form of madness, while it no longer possesses even one great artist or philosopher, the age of the least originality and its greatest pursuit, the age which can boast of being the first to have exalted eroticism, but not in order to forget oneself, the way of the Romans or the Greeks did in their Bacchanalia, but in order to have the illusion of rediscovering oneself and giving substance to one's vanity. Well, that's interesting because he seems in this paragraph to be describing our age, but he in fact died in the beginning of the last century. So it would appear that the West is still suffering from its moral disease, which depressed Weininger so much that he killed himself. So let me continue with what I was going to say about the culture war, which is in some way related to what I just read about yin and yang. So it is the male aspect of us that is thrusting and seeking and questing and importuning and not taking no for an answer. And obviously, this is necessary because we can't all be passive women hoping for their knight in shining armor to rescue them, the way Jews seem to be waiting for their Messiah. We need to sort ourselves out, and we cannot just be waiting around, lolling about, waiting for the Messiah to come, just because we don't want to answer certain questions. I'm afraid the Jews that I've asked awkward questions of, they just say things like, "Oh, when the Messiah comes, all our questions will be answered, including yours, Claire." No, that's not good enough. And that's because I already know the answers. I've worked it out, and I've told these rabbis what these answers I think are, and they don't like it, so they pretend I haven't spoken or that I'm somehow wrong, but they can't quite say how. And this is most disappointing and rather degenerate of them, I'm afraid. So back to the question of the culture war. The culture war, I think, in essence, is the masculine forces and the feminine forces. Well, I think ideally they should be in balance, but the feminine forces have pervaded governments and empires. And the real difference is, I would say, the difference between the lowest common denominator and the highest common factor. So these are both concepts, and they could be equated to, doing one's best, reaching out for the ideal, questing for it, doing what is necessary to be done, and the other one is to have low standards, saying sufficient unto the day. Let's just tread water. Let's not, trouble ourselves too much. And obviously, you can't say in every instance that, maxing out is the best way to go, or taking it easy would be the best way to go. And really, there's some kind of middle ground. But when one is always more favored than the other with no good result, then obviously something is wrong. And so what I seek is a balance of gender justice, basically, a gender balanced society in which the masculine preference is balanced with the feminine preference, so that things are fair enough. Unfortunately, at the moment, the feminine preference is always being prioritized, and that explains why there is so little honesty and logic and principle in national life, particularly in the West, where Western societies are in fact now degenerate matriarchies, using extramarital sex as an opiate for its people. So this is something to be considered. Um, how does this relate to Ed Dutton? Well, Ed Dutton is, well, I guess conflicted. He, on the one hand, he calls himself some kind of anthropologist and theologian, but on the other hand, he's, nervous of losing his channel, and he doesn't want rivals, and he doesn't want anyone thinking that I'm a better thinker than he is, and to be taken more seriously, and so forth. He wants to marginalize me and ignore me, and now he has blocked me on Twitter. But what this means is that he is not really providing you with the service you should be entitled to expect by not answering your questions, or only answering your questions if you pay him, and he might not even answer your question if you pay him. So he's got that milk toast Rob Dufour of Islam for Europeans, who was a bit triggered by the debate Daniel Haqiqatjou had with Mark Collett, like it was something terrible that these two should have had a discussion, which, well, I think went reasonably well. But, typically timorous as he was, he thought, oh, I don't want Islam to be associated with white nationalism, and so I think Daniel shouldn't have been talking to people like that, because it makes it difficult for white converts like us to, I don't know what or whatever it was that he was saying, but he wasn't happy about it, and he said that the debate shouldn't have taken place. But anyway, he's talking to Ed Dutton tomorrow. Ed Dutton is, I suppose, reluctantly of the view that Islam must be the way forward, but he doesn't want to say so because he is terrified of losing his super chats with his Islamophobic viewers and subscribers. So he's just treading a thin line, and they're mostly like that, just morally compromised, intellectually dishonest, and not giving their subscribers the best service possible, as I do. And I think the last thing I wanted to say was that a certain rabbi, what's his name? David Assor, I think. Let's make sure I have his name right. Daniel Assor, sorry. Yes. So this David Assor has been anti-vax, and I think he said, or the liberal media are reporting him as having said that the vaccine makes you gay, and so they call him crackpot. I've listened to one video of his, and he's not exactly going to appeal to Gentiles the way he talks, But sometimes I wonder at these people, do they actually want to be understood, or do they just want to go through the motions of saying what they think is necessary to be said, but to ensure that not too many people understand them so they don't get into trouble? Well, I want to be understood by as many people as possible because I do really want to propagate my message as widely as possible. And following from what Rabbi Daniel Assor was saying, and he came to my notice because the liberal Jews don't like him because he used to be Christian and then he took up the Torah and started debunking the idolatry and blasphemy of Christianity. And so he's come up against some powerful forces and they basically want to cancel him. So within the Jewish community, there are many divisions, and obviously, if God exists, he would have a view on whether he is also Jesus, and I suspect he wouldn't be agreeing with the Christians. But what's happening currently seems to be that whoever controls the liberal media gets to control the consciousness of, well, anyone who uses liberal media. And I suppose what will happen, I mean, assuming, we all, if we all died suddenly, what would be the record for the future, for future generations? Well, actually, there wouldn't be any descendants. What I'm trying to say is, we are being told lies, and we don't believe them, but in generations to come, when they look at our media, they will think that most people are liberal and that people like us, dissenters, do not exist because we do not control the media. And because we don't control the media, we won't control the historical record. So that is something to consider. And obviously, in terms of posterity, we would be cancelled because nobody would acknowledge our existence because we don't control the media and therefore our views don't count, and probably won't even be allowed to remain on the record if we don't challenge this record, this view of the world. And I started by talking about patriarchy and matriarchy and yin and yang. And we must ask ourselves that, what these common factors of the culture war are, the different sides. So patriarchy, you would have social conservatism, you would have theocracy, you would be anti-lockdown and anti-vax and anti-gay marriage, anti-transgenderism. And on the other side, the matriarchy, you would have, the presumption that extramarital sex is your human right. You would be pro-transgenderism, you would be pro-gay marriage, you would be pretending you didn't see the difference between being unmarried parents and married parents, and you don't care if you don't have offspring or have legitimate offspring. They're just diametrically opposed, and this is how we should see the culture war in terms of. And this is a little bit of, the political analysis that you will get from me that you won't get from the others with far bigger channels than mine, because they are, intellectually mediocre, they are dishonest, and they just want to talk at great length so they can say they produce content, but they don't go anywhere with it. They don't care that Christianity is kaput because they're too afraid to say that Christianity is kaput because they don't want to get into trouble. But anyway, here I am telling you as it is, laying it on the line, and not having that many viewers. But I think those of you who understand me know the import of my message. And you can also understand what you can do about it, which is to share my videos and tweet them and talk about them, and yes, and go to the channels of the people I have mentioned and ask questions about why they are deliberately excluding me, even though they have no better answer. And it's probably because they are anti-Semites and Islamophobes who are post-Christian but don't want to acknowledge that Christianity is kaput and therefore part of the problem. So we can see Ralph Masilamani posting hysterically in the chat, but he hasn't a single coherent point to make. So to sum up, the culture war is between those who support the institution of marriage and want to morally regenerate their degenerate society and are not afraid of saying so, and see that marriage as an institution must be supported for the benefit of future generations. And Ralph really should support me since he does have legitimate offspring that presumably he loves. But so I don't know what he thinks he's doing, throwing rocks at me. Perhaps he doesn't know himself because he is, like so many other people around me, more than a bit neurotic. And when you're neurotic, you won't act rationally. You won't do what you are supposed to do to get what you are supposed to want. Well, hello, Diana. Do you want to join me today? You will have a slightly more civilized conversation than with the sub-beta males on Ralph's channel. I thought I saw you on Twitter today, Diana, but I'm not sure now. I don't know how long I'll last on Twitter, but I might as well make the most of it. Yes, it's for you, Diana. All right, you take your time. I'll just read my notifications. I'm not in a hurry. I wouldn't mind asking you about Nord Stream 2 and your German energy needs. know a very few women. Like what? What do you mean? Yes, I am on Twitter now. Ain't that great? Go and follow me and retweet me and like my tweets. Yes, yes, that's me. Oh, actually, no. No, it's not. But you will find me soon enough. It's actually core_Claire. And I think I'm not putting my Telegram link in the description, which I've forgotten to do. Hold on. Just let me get the link. Here we are. Yes, I seem to be losing subscribers in my Telegram group, my very exclusive Telegram group. Oh, sorry, yeah. Hello, Diana.
Hi,
Hello.
Claire. How are you? Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can
We
you
got
hear
10
me?
people waiting for us now. I heard a little voice.
Oh, only a little voice. I mean,
Yes, well, now I hear now I hear a proper voice.
a little voice.
A
Oh,
little
that's good,
gasp.
isn't it? But you are using StreamYard now. StreamYard is really sucking the life out of my iPhone stupid battery. So I've only 20%, and I'm charging it. But my phone, I need a new one, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that it had that effect.
Yeah. What do you normally use? Google,
Um,
right?
uh, yes, I use Meet when I use up my 20 hours of free StreamYard, but somebody's sort of kindly included me in his team, so I think I can use StreamYard in an unlimited way, which is kind of easier for me.
Ah, okay. See, and when I have been on here with Google Meet, my battery has always been fine.
Oh.
So that's the effect it has on at least my phone. I don't know about others.
Right. I mean, I know there's some people who say insist on StreamYard and hate the other one. But okay, I'll bear that in mind in future because it's one of these features. Um, do you have anything to tell us about your views in the last few days about developments in the world?
Oh, I actually really have been very busy to follow, obviously, the situation in the Ukraine, because it's very close to our home. And yes, it is very close compared to other wars. He's saying it's
Well,
not very close. It is. It is very
well,
close.
it's your energy needs. I mean, you guys, Germans were the ones who said to the Russians, please build your Nord Stream 2, right? And then now they said, oh, well, we don't want it because the Americans twisted our arm and we have to
Yeah,
say
that's the
no.
thing. I saw the stream you made and I thought, oh, I want to hear what you have to say, but I haven't had the time to watch it yet. My perspective on it is I knew exactly that that would happen because America just doesn't, or the USA, they never wanted us to have the Nord Stream 2.
They
And
wanted you to buy their gas, whatever they were. They wanted you to buy, you guys to buy their stuff, right?
yes, and that's the fracking gas, right?
Mm.
And we wanted that Nord Stream 2. There were some arguments going on. It got built over years now, and now we were just waiting for the approval. There were some issues with the guidelines and stuff. And when the USA met with the EU and they spoke about sanctions, what will we do if Russia does this and that? And the first move was, and of course it came on the table right away, is, oh, Germany, you need to do something about that Nord Stream 2 thing. Of course. And now the politicians put that on the table and said, oh, we don't know, we don't know. I mean, it's ready built. It's sitting there and waiting. And Russia, even in the Cold War, delivered us with gas in a very reliable way. And the USA just doesn't want that. They don't want that. So, haha, now it's on the table and it maybe never will get used ever, this Nord Stream 2 thing. Let's see how things develop, right?
I don't understand why European leaders can just say, well, we've had enough of you, America. We have our own geopolitical interests. You're not going, you're obviously not going to look after us, so we have to look after ourselves,
What
right?
makes what makes you think that the USA is not looking after us?
Well, because it's not. German interests would not be well served by having to buy your energy from America. It's obviously better to get it cheaper because you're just going to get inflation, right? If you buy much more expensive gas from.
Of course, inflation is coming anyway, and now it will get worse. What you can read in the German newspapers today is, okay, people, calm down. The gas delivery is safe. You all will get your gas. Yes, the prices will rise, but we will find a way to release you from some costs. So I don't
But
know
it
what
makes
they'll
no
do.
sense.
No, it makes no sense, but that's a political game. It's just a game, and we won it at first.
I just don't understand why we'll just play the rules, because it's like, why do you have to listen to crazy people doing stupid things when you know
Who are the
well, I
crazy
mean,
people?
everybody's going to suffer in Europe, and they say, oh well, we just have to suffer, we just have to take it because we're too scared of the Americans to say boo to that goose.
Um, well,
Because if you did,
I
it would actually
think
be
it's
helpful
all
to the
about
Americans.
compromises, and America, they have their will. They try to push their will on us before when it comes to that Nord Stream 2. We could get out of it, and if this wouldn't have kicked off now, it would have probably gotten the approval not so far in the future, and everything would have been fine. And now the USA saw the chance to put it back on the table. And of course, we have to stand together now. And that's a compromise we have to make. What's the alternative?
Why? But it makes no
Because
sense in
that's
the
part
first
of the
place. So what?
game. Compromises is just how it works. When parties, the
You're
NATO
just
said,
submitting to tyranny. I'm sure even if you had approved and America said, no, we don't like it, you have to stop, which is what they did to the British anyway. That they'd agreed to have Huawei install 5G, and the Americans said, no, no, you can't do it. And Britain had to just
if you look,
completely resign from it.
if you look at the position of the different countries in that crisis now, Germany seriously is very weak. Yeah, the UK sent weapons, France sent weapons, the USA sent weapons, Italy sent weapons, and what do you know? What Germany is sending and still hasn't sent out? Do you know?
What?
Helmets. Five
Well, because
Germany.
actually that makes sense, because it's like Germany doesn't even want the whole thing to happen. They wanted, they actually wanted the Russian deal. So, I just don't see why you can say, well, I'm sorry, America, Europeans have their own interests, and your way of doing things doesn't serve us well at all. And eventually, the people are going to get so annoyed that there will be trouble. So we just have to do the right thing that makes sense, like get
Yeah,
the
but you
cheap
say
energy and
Europe
be on good
now.
terms with Russia.
But you say Europe, and Germany really took a unique position in that. The Ukraine, I mean Klitschko is that boxer. I think it's brothers. They were born in the Ukraine, came to Germany, lived here for years, got trained here, and were famous boxers. They were on German television plenty of times. And one of the boxers went back to the Ukraine and is now the mayor of Kiev. And he, or the full government actually, asked Germany plenty of times, like, don't you see what the others are sending? Are you serious that 5,000 helmets is all we are getting? We will be so disappointed. They actually said, we won't forgive Germany if this is all we are getting. And Germany
You
said,
don't owe the Ukrainians
sorry?
anything. You don't owe them anything.
No, but France, UK, Italy, USA, they all send defensive
Well, they
weapons.
shouldn't have done
But
any of that because,
we have our own point of view, and we wanted peace so badly. And while France as well, tried to do all this so diplomatic, the USA in the background, if I read the news over there, yeah, for 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now, it's like every single day I thought, oh, it's starting now. It's starting now. Then I went and read the German news, and then it's like, okay, they're still talking. They're still trying very, very hard. But America was pushing big time in the background.
well, yeah. So it's time for the European countries to say, well, we're going to be friendly to Russia, and you people can just take a running jump. That's what the Europeans should do if they knew what was good for them. But it's like, why are you afraid of America? What are they going to do to you? You just take, well, we've had enough of your
Why?
nonsense.
Why? I don't know if that is fear, actually. I don't think that is fear. I mean, I personally believe that we as the West need a very strong America. And America has shown very weak sides over the last, I don't know how many years, and the world has seen it as well. China sees it, Russia sees it, and what Trump did with, I mean, he started more or less a division between the EU and America. That is now solved again. That was obvious. When the new president comes, we will overcome that division, and we have. Now we stick together. Well, I don't know if it's fear. They are just, we need them. The end. We need them to be.
Why? Why? What do you need? I mean, Russia
It's the
doesn't want to
strongest.
invade
It's the
you.
strongest
The
economy
reason,
in the world. They have the weapons. They have the political power. They still have a certain image in the world. EU itself does not even have a proper army. We don't even have a European army. We have been
no,
talking about that for years and years. But what can we do without the USA? Seriously.
what you think Russia's going to invade? I mean, Russia is weak. That's why it's being pushed around by the Americans for all this time.
Okay, I disagree on that. I think what makes Russia really strong is the mind. Putin is an alpha man. You should see things like that, Claire. Come on. You see alpha man from 100 miles away. Are you telling me Putin is not? He's a super experienced, strong, not playing around politician. And you are a Trump fan. And even Trump said today, wow, these are very smart moves I'm seeing over there. Putin is acting very, very smart. Why? Because Putin is so experienced and he
He's
doesn't
just
have
doing
fear.
the sensible thing. When you have one party that's always doing the stupidest thing, and then you have another party that does, the obvious, the right thing, then yeah, you are getting that kind of contrast. Because all Putin is doing is protecting Russian interests and the Russian people in the, you know, Russian people in the Ukraine. That's why he recognized, the independence of the Lugansk and Donetsk, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, but what is our interest? My
Your
personal
interest is
interest,
to get
yeah,
cheap
of
energy, for God's
Germany.
sakes.
Pardon?
Your interest is to get cheap energy, as cheap as possible, and to be on good terms with with your near neighbor, which is Russia. I
Yeah,
mean,
being
that's
on
so
good
obvious.
terms.
Yes.
Exactly. So all this is what's happening right now is just a political game. Russia will take the Ukraine, and it will maybe happen in the next 48 hours. 48 million or 42 million people live in the Ukraine. It will be bloody. A lot of people will die. A lot of refugees will come to Europe again, and probably Russia. And then at one stage it's over. And then there is this sensitive time, right? What will happen? What will happen? So we need to move on from that then. And why now?
You just need to move on from doing whatever America wants, being their vassal states, to having some sense of national independence and promoting your own national interest.
Yeah, but America then has not so much to do with it because we are living next to Russia. It's Europe. So Europe needs to make sure that we don't dig not our own grave, but that we can build a bridge after it again. A bridge, and then the energy will flow again, and then we just need to exist next to each other in a certain way, like we have until a few weeks ago. So why now being like, we are not like America is doing it. We are not even talking like the Americans are. They have their own words they use to speak about this crisis. We talk about it in a different way because we think further, I think. America has been in so many wars. We don't want war. War is stupid. So we try to keep it limited so we can have a communication after it again. I think that's my personal opinion.
Well, America is obviously not in a good place, and its people don't like what their government is doing. It's not like, the American government has the full backing of Americans. I mean, they're just so not into what Biden is doing. And, well, you can get away with this sort of thing for only a while, hoping people don't care about foreign policy. But, eventually people will just go too far. And I think they have this time. Because, the whole world is watching the West and saying, how can they be so stupid? What's wrong with them? Why do they just do whatever America says when it's so crazy and against their own interests? The Europeans, especially.
Yeah, but what I think is you underestimate the different interests inside the Western world. And I think I think Putin is clever enough to understand that the Americans would talk about this totally different than the Europeans do. And I think the important thing is that Putin knows why we are talking different. Why, when he sits down with Germany or France, that the tone is different, right, than it is with the USA. And he
Yeah,
will
I
really
mean, we,
tell
we
us
know
in the
what these
media.
different countries are doing. It's like Germany. Merkel was pulling out all the stops to get Nord Stream 2 built, right? That was what she was doing. That was her legacy. She was thinking, before I go, I'm just going to do this for the German people. That was her thing, right? That was what she was trying to do, wasn't it? Oh, it's gone
I'm
quiet.
here. I'm here. Yeah, and look. This is just a pause, right? So whatever you read in the newspaper, I read today like, oh, maybe it will never come. Why is it even necessary to say that? Whatever is happening now or will happen in the next 4 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. There's always a time after it. And this is built already. And if it gets, it won't get bombed even, but if it gets damaged or whatever, you can rebuild it. And then in a year, in two, in three, then when it's politically okay for the USA that we push for it again, we will. And then the natural gas will float again.
Yes,
That's
I,
just
I
how I see
understand
it.
that, unless, it gets blown up or whatever, it's still there potentially to be used. But I'm saying, it's a principle of the thing. It's like, you want cheap gas, why delay? And why show your fear of America? And you think, okay, look at what France was doing. France is also America's poodle. And, Macron was trying to be peacemaker and say, why do we do this? And why don't we do that? And basically the Russians said, but you have no substance in any of your proposals. It's just sort of a bunch of time wasting, series of meetings, and that will never decide anything, because you can't trust the Americans, because they break their word, like the Minsk agreement. They said, okay, we will never encircle you, we will never make the Baltic states go NATO, and that was exactly what they did. So
Why
obviously
do you say? Why do you say it's the Americans which did that? 1992, and this document was found in a library in London, I think, or England, not long ago, by German journalists. It was signed, and the NATO is not only the USA, although the USA is the strongest country in it, and it's our strongest ally, obviously. And we, the NATO, promised Russia, we won't extend the NATO to the east. We won't do it. And I don't know if you listened to Putin's speech, which he did 1.5 hours.
I read it in English
Yeah. So
today.
he today. Okay. No, but I mean the 1.5 hour ones he did like 2 days ago. He
I think
explained
I think
all.
that was the one. I think that was the one I was listening to. I mean, he sort of went through the history about the Ukraine and Russian
Yes.
Revolution and blah.
Yes.
Yeah, I read that one in
And he
English. Yeah.
also mentioned that this promise was broken, and not
Yes,
only once, multiple times. And he said, Russia didn't do anything. We just let it happen.
because they were weak. The Russians were weak. That's why they had to put up with so much crap, until it's like, no, we can't. We won't put up with this anymore. Because then they will know how weak we are. So we have to fight back. I mean, that's the Russian position. You know.
The thing is, the Ukraine has it in their constitution that they want to be part of the NATO. The NATO is not really even talking about it. It wasn't even an issue. And the European politicians say something like, well, in our career as a politician, this won't even be on the table. It's not something which was on the table at all. But now,
I don't even see why NATO is necessary. The Cold War is over, so why are we talking in terms of the Cold War? I mean, it's like, what more can Russia do? It's actually a liberal democracy. It has elections, but still America is not happy, because Russia is not yet a complete vassal state the way, well, every other European nation is, it would appear. So they're all kind of yapping around in Germany saying, "Oh, right, we don't want Nord Stream anymore, even though it was your idea to have it built." And France, just sort of, don't know what Macron thought he was trying to do. And then, well, Britain, it was like, okay, let's be really, really aggressive about Russia, to curry favor with the Americans, because that's what the British are most famous for doing. And that's it. I mean, what about the British national interest? Well, what's going to happen when well, prices go up, and it will be attributed to higher energy costs as well as everything else. It makes no sense. And what's America going to do? If the Europeans collectively, told America to go jump in the lake, what can America do? Are they going to invade Europe? No, they're not. It's just okay. I can understand when you think, oh, they're going to do horrible things to us and blah blah. But if
no, 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 no,
everybody,
no,
if
no, no,
everybody
no,
just
no.
told America to fuck
I
off,
didn't say that, Claire, because I just don't think that. First of all, I don't think Europe feels fear when it comes to the USA. They are just the strongest ally. And in every team, there's a team leader, and they are the team leader. So when they say, look, we want you to do this and that, well, we do it. But we don't say we don't want it anymore. We put it on pause. The
Yes, but I
approval
mean, you're still
process
talking
is
as if
stopped.
Russia is going to invade. You know, it's like no, because you actually want your energy from them. So why would they invade? If they want to sell you stuff, they you know, it's like people want
They
to
won't invade
trade
us. They won't. It's just the political standpoint we are
no,
taking.
because you're
It's a
being
position.
told by America what to do, and you don't seem to
No,
understand.
no. I seriously, I don't even know where you get that from, to be honest. I mean, we have our
I
own
mean,
interest.
that's the only way to explain the crazy, stupid behavior of these European countries.
What is so crazy and stupid what we are doing right now? I think
You,
we
but
are
you
doing
you
it.
asked for Nord Stream 2, and now you're saying because America is sort of frowning and looking angry, you say, oh, we don't want it after all. And it was what Merkel was doing. That was her legacy for all her years as president. She was trying to, as chancellor, she was doing this for the German people, and then you just said, no, no, we don't want it. Of course, you wanted it. You made the Russians build the Nord Stream 2,
Yeah,
and now
but
you
it
say
will
we don't
still
want it.
come. It will still come. It's just that the approval is on pause at the moment because of the situation. It will come
Yeah,
in
yeah,
another
well, it's
2
America
years.
just being a bully. Right? That's what the America is doing. It's just saying we don't like it. You can't. Or, if you do, we're going to be mean to you. That's basically it. And really, the Europeans should just sort of collectively say, no, we're not going to put up with your nonsense anymore.
What
We don't think you know what you're doing anyway, because you're
I
crazy and
find
stupid.
I find it interesting. You have used so many emotional words, like fear, stupidity, all these kind of words. But we are talking about politics, and you are
Yes,
the one who has far more knowledge when it comes to politics. So why am I the one here who sees the bigger picture, but you aren't?
I
I
don't know
know
what bigger picture you see,
the
Diana. I don't
future.
know what bigger.
The
You say we
future.
have to obey America, whatever. And I say, well, okay, if America is saying something sensible, but it's not.
Yeah, but if you look at the bigger picture, why do you make such a big issue out of the fact that we now said, okay, USA, we will put it on hold. It's part of our sanctions. It's okay. So what? I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
really
but
mean
the thing is,
something in
it's a
2 or 4
principle.
years.
Oh, it's a principle of the thing. And all countries, it doesn't matter where you are, you should be acting in your own national interest. And because America says, we don't like it, we don't like Russia, we want you to be mean to Russia, it doesn't matter that you'll have higher energy prices after all this COVID lockdown nonsense. We don't care about you. You have to be mean to Russia. And everybody says, okay, we'll be mean to Russia because you say so. And the whole thing about Russia invading, it's like it's their backyard, right? The Ukraine used to be part of Russia, so there's no, it's like
Yeah,
I'm lost for words. I'm
seriously,
lost for words.
but this is our interest. The future, to have a good like relationship with our neighbor in the future, is our interest. That is our interest, and that's what we are thinking about when we, in your eyes, behave weak. I think it's very well thought and thought for the long process, because Russia will always be our neighbor. We will always have relationships, trade wise, and so why burning the bridges now?
No, you're not burning any bridges. It's like you guys, Germany asked for Nord Stream 2 to be built. It is the legacy of Angela Merkel. That was the one thing she wanted to be remembered for doing for the German people, right? Am I just not talking sense here? That was what she wanted to do. She pulled out all the stops to get Nord Stream 2 built. And okay, has she been interviewed? What has she been saying?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't read anything about her in the last
Yeah,
couple
but
of
I mean,
days.
she probably, was very angry, and everybody just ignored her because, all Western media is controlled by the CIA, and you're not allowed to hear her being really annoyed that her legacy has been trashed, right?
But I don't think it's trashed. I'm 100%
Well, the
sure
Americans haven't blown it up yet.
That Merkel would support the fact that we are pushing for peace and that we are trying hard to not push it in the totally wrong direction. Um, we have to do the sanction thing. It's just a political move. We have to take our stand and say that we don't agree with what Russia is doing there. I personally don't fear that Russia will walk into Estonia or these other countries which are now European Union but used to be Russia. I don't think they will. But
No, there's no reason. They don't want a kind of rebel province on their hands. They're not completely crazy. They don't want something like Afghanistan where everybody hates them and having to spend money and soldiers to, Is she on Twitter? I want to see what she says about what's happened. She must be on Twitter, right? Because I bet she'd be hopping mad. But
yeah, I don't know why you are that mad.
oh,
For
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah. It
this
says
is
here
just
that the absence of Angela Merkel has never been more apparent. Merkel handled Putin better than anyone. So she had a special relationship with Putin.
yeah.
She really got. It's like, oh, please, darling, build the Nord Stream 2. You know I want it.
No,
Please, darling.
Merkel was a girl born and raised in the east of Germany. She spoke Russian fluently, or speaks Russian fluently, and she's a very rational thinking person. And she has known him for many, many years. And she was like, her political career started as like under the umbrella of Helmut Kohl, who was very successful as well and knew Putin very well as well. So, yes, Scholz is pretty much an unwritten paper when it comes to these kind of things. But still, I don't see that he's doing anything wrong. The only country who is really pissed is the Ukraine because we are sending these 5,000 helmets and we haven't even sent them yet. We have only promised to send them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
well. I mean, that's a very good token gesture. It's like, why not send 500 roses or something like? Oh,
exactly.
it's so
Don't you think
crazy.
if we would obey that much, we would send defensive weapons as well? But we don't. We don't, and I don't think we will. If we send them, then it's pressure from the USA. You are right, but I think they won't do that because I think Germany has explained to the USA why we are having that standpoint and why we are behaving that well. That way, not that well, that way.
Mm.
Because we are thinking about the time after this crisis already, and then it will be dialogues and you know distrust and blah blah blah. So I
Well,
don't think this is a time to now turn around to the USA and go, fuck off, USA, we don't need you here. Of course we need them.
why? Why do
It's
you
our
want them?
strongest ally.
Ally against what? I mean, you need an ally if you think somebody's going to attack you and you're already on such friendly terms with the Russians that you asked them to build this gas pipeline under the sea, and they did. And it's actually you that's pissing them off. It's like, what? They don't have a mind of their own. Their mind has been completely taken over by the Americans, and it's like, yeah, they don't have a mind. They're stupid. The Germans are stupid and weak, and they do whatever the Americans tell them to do,
We are
even
weak,
if it's
yes,
against their own national interest.
but this is our national interest.
Oh,
Don't burn the bridge. That is our national
the
interest.
bridge, okay, I'm saying the bridge to Russia is the most important because they're supplying your energy needs. And you also, and the additional thing is that you asked them to do it. So it's even more annoying for the Russians to say, oh, they told us to do all that. And they say they don't want it anymore because Americans are annoyed. Well, anyway, that's how it looks to me, and I know, and a lot of people don't kind of see it that way, but just because
Let's
of the
talk in
propaganda
2 years'
and the way
time.
it's been expressed, and people, don't do their research, I guess.
You'd see in 2 years' time, or 3 years' time, this Nord Stream 2 will be running. That's my guess.
Yeah.
That's my guess. So, yes, there's a time delay, and yes, it will cost money because of the energy prices. We have to now go and buy gas from somewhere else, and it will be more expensive. I understand all that, but if that's for 1 year or 2 years, that's acceptable. If we would burn the bridges to Russia, that would cost us far more. And it's not only the gas, we have big trade with Russia. Companies, German companies work very closely with Russian companies and the other way around. So there will be a money loss now. But
Well,
all this,
which is the sooner you tell the Americans to back off, the better it is for you and for the whole of Europe. Right? I mean that is the most sensible thing. I mean, God knows what the British think they're doing, because really, when you think about it, the British national interest is also about being on good terms with, the mainland. But they no longer have a marine empire, and maybe America's not going to look after them anymore, or they never did. But the whole attitude towards diplomacy, and what's in the interests of the British needs to change. But I see it as being similar to the German national interest, which is cheaper energy, because after COVID and lockdown, people are feeling very poor, and they're just going to be hating the government and hating the system of government that allows all these crazy decisions to be made that can't be explained, other than America's looking a bit annoyed at us now, so we better do what America wants.
okay, so my full concept of the West definitely includes a good relationship with the USA, Australia, New Zealand, and inside of Europe. So I think if I look at the future development on this planet, we should all stick together. The West needs to stick together. That is my opinion. So
Against whom? Okay. I mean, the British all think they're part of the Anglosphere, which is sort of, all the English-speaking parts of the world, like Canada and America and Australasia, and you think the lockdown restrictions are actually the worst in Australia, because it started life as a penal colony, so they have no tradition of the rule of law, because basically their laws are dictated by Britain. Even now, because they've got a governor general, which is basically somebody that's in charge of the armed forces, who can sack their prime ministers. So that's why the last few Australian prime ministers just suddenly went, for no apparent reason. They were perfectly, you know, doing all kinds of things, and then suddenly the here today, gone today prime ministers, and it's because they have a governor general that basically sacked them, for at the behest of the governor general, who takes orders from the Queen, who takes orders from the Americans. That's how it works. And Canada has basically, there's no rule of law, that the Canadians just have to take whatever shit they get, because the price of Justin Trudeau remaining prime minister is at the, well, the Queen. The Queen, it's in the Queen's control, and the Queen is probably being manipulated by the people who tell her what to do, and she will be doing what the Americans tell her to do. So that's how America controls the world. And it's like, these Australians, they don't know it. These New Zealanders, they don't know it. They think they're some independent country, but basically they're being controlled by America through the British monarchy, because that's how that's how it worked, because before the Second World War, before Britain lost control after starting 2 wars with the Germans, they were called dominions, British dominions, basically, white
Yes,
parts of the
yeah.
world.
But we live in the now and the future is ahead of us. Yes, and I know you love to talk about the history and all these things, but we do live in the now and things are going to come. Yeah, if you look at Africa, if you look at China, look at Russia now. They He's leashing out now and taking the Ukraine. India is getting stronger. China has plans as well. So I think it would be a totally wrong move for the EU to say, okay, we with the 500 million people here, we don't need the USA, we don't need any other country, we want to stand alone. That would weaken us, and I think it's not the time to look weak. USA is getting weaker by each day. Yeah.
Because of their crazy policies. They're
Yes,
not
and a
even
lot
looking
of
after their
people,
own people.
yes, but a lot of Americans, they don't see it that way. They don't see it yet. They still
Well,
think
I
they're
think they did, but they were told that they didn't have a choice. Because if you want capitalism to remain in existence, you have to protect the middle class, right? Because the middle class is the buffer class that stops the peasants from revolting. That's why all prosperous, developed, industrialized nations, that they would really want to look after the middle class, but now they say, oh, we don't care about our manufacturing base. We'll just import, we'll just put all our factories in China, so the working classes just can't do anything anymore, and that's why they have to put up with immigration, because they are useless, and therefore they don't even get the decent education or vocational training, and that's why they're useless, and they come from fatherless homes, and so that's why all the Western countries keep having to import cheap immigrant labor. So that is a problem, but they don't seem to know that. And then the middle classes are getting smaller and smaller because the
yes,
government
it's
doesn't care
melting
about them
everywhere.
either.
The middle class is melting. That's a problem, I know. And we do have our problems in our own countries. And we do have typical Western problems as well. If you look at the birth statistics and so on, I see all that. But there's another perspective, and that's the full world. That is just the full world.
The,
So
the, the
I
problem is that
prefer
your political classes don't care
power
about
needs to
you.
be in balance, and for that I rather have a strong ally next to me, which is the USA, and I
But,
don't
but
care
they're
if we
crazy.
have to do compromises with them from time to time. I don't care, because the balance counts.
Well, the balance of what? It's okay. You want an ally who is not crazy or stupid or retarded, and if they are, you're better off on your own, or with a smaller group of people, because, well, if you ally yourself with crazy people who do silly
But they
things, then
are
you're
not
going to
really
be,
crazy. They
you're
are
going to get
just
into trouble
different.
too.
They are just a little bit different, but the politicians, they can sit at a table and they can come to compromises and solutions, and they can create a path where all the Western nations which sit at that table can agree on. That is
But they
possible.
don't even promote their own national interest. That is what I'm saying. All these
And I'm
Western
saying they
politicians,
are.
they don't even care about their own country. They don't even look after what they're supposed to be looking after, because they're somehow being bribed or threatened, or whatever. Who knows? Or maybe they just got a few screws loose in their heads. But nothing they do makes sense. Which is why so many people in the West actually admire Putin. The like Nigel Farage, and a lot of people, working class people, and they see Putin or even Xi Jinping. It's like, yeah, they're doing sensible things. They're looking after their own people and their own country. Well, in the West, we have to put up with crazy, stupid people who are just doing things that don't benefit the country, and that is fundamentally the problem in the West.
Why do
because
you get so
governments don't
emotional?
enjoy the trust of the people anymore.
Why do you get so emotional and use all these words like that? That's not normally what I hear from you, like crazy and stupid and all these kind of things.
I
Normally
use it quite
you
a
talk
lot.
very reflected about it and give examples and all that, and normally you are the one who is able to see the bigger picture, and today I feel it's me, and that is very concerning almost, because as I said before, you have greater knowledge, and I wonder if it has to do with the perspective, your own personal perspective, what you have experienced in
Yes,
life,
yes. My
and the way
perspective
you
is,
look at things.
no,
And
yes, I do look at things in this way, that our national leaders should be looking after the national interest. Right. I mean, this is a commonsensical viewpoint, and I see that European nations do not have this thing called a national leader who looks after their national interests. They are submitting to America's whims and fancies. They're just doing whatever the Americans
yeah,
want
but
them to
that's the
do.
problem inside the problem right now. I mean, I can agree with you on that. No problem. I do agree. But right now, we are talking about the crisis we are
It's,
having. And
it's a
then,
manufactured crisis.
but
It's
it's a real
manufactured.
crisis.
It's
People will probably
provoked.
die. So,
Yeah, but it's being provoked by the Americans who don't want Germans to have their cheaper source of energy. And you would have thought that the Germans would have said, no, we're going to have our
oh,
source of cheaper energy,
wait a
because we
minute,
even
wait a
asked
minute, wait a
the
minute.
Russians to build the gas
You think
pipe.
all of the full situation we are in now, yeah, in the east of the Ukraine, the rebels, they have fought for 8 years now, so the problem does exist since 2014. um, and you think all this has to do with Nord Stream 2, all of this?
Well, you know what happened to Ukraine. It was a color revolution, and it was, well, created by the West, who wanted the Ukraine to be part of NATO. It hasn't happened yet, but this is the encroachment on Russia that you would understand why Russia would not tolerate that.
I agree with Ralph in the chat. I hope it will be less than 10,000. I don't. I mean, I wish it will only be less than 10,000 people which will die. I hope it will be over in 30 days, but it could be 3 months. It could be 2 months, and it could be 100,000. It could even be a million. We don't know. Um, but then
Well, I hope we're not on the eve
and
of
this
the
is
Third
not.
World War.
This is no, it won't be a third world war. Putin is not stupid. He's very, very intelligent. And I seriously don't think that this has so much to do with the USA and the Nord Stream. This is Putin's will now. Putin wants to do this. That's what I think. And he will do it. And we are now screaming and hysterical, shouting, oh no, no, no. It will happen, and then things will calm down again, and the world will still be rotating.
Yes, and Germans and Europeans will have to pay more for their energy on top of everything else. So, and um, okay, uh,
You have a
have,
phone call.
I probably have to go. Okay,
Okay.
I'll let you talk or whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna.
Okay. So now you want me to talk? Oh God, no. I can have conversations, but I can't have monologues really. So what can I say? Well, I really, right from what you just said in the chat room, that's how it is. I mean, we know about that list already. Putin has this list of people he wants out of the system. He will hunt them down. They will get they will be gone after that. He will install his own system, and then we will all behave like, oh, we are so disappointed that you did that. Naughty, naughty boy, naughty, naughty boy. And then when the fog is gone, we will sit down at the table and talk about, oh, how can we continue our relationships? Contracts will be made, uh, and then it's all the past. So that's what I believe. Exactly. It would be so stupid to do that, Ralph. It's nothing the EU wants, it's nothing Russia wants, and Russia for sure can 100% separate the rhetoric. Is that even a word, Brian? Rhetoric? It's not a word in English. Okay, rhetorical um, speeches of the Americans and the European countries. He will listen closely, and he knows for sure that there is a difference because we all have our national interests. So I don't know, Claire. I don't share your worries there. Seriously. Oh, Ralph, I wish you were on panels. I really can't have monologues. I hope Claire is coming back. Claire has a very different perspective, and I don't know if this is the right time now to put USA hate out there. I mean, why? What for? What for? The, I've I followed a channel. I've been following a channel for a couple of weeks now when it comes to the Russian and Ukraine crisis. And there, what I read in the chat room is so concerning because there are so many people that they don't even understand. Yeah, when Biden had his speech yesterday, they were like, what? We are sending 1,000 people, only 1,000 people have to fight against 190,000 Russians. The poor young man, I'm totally against that. Why is Biden doing that? And I'm like, wait, did you listen to that same speech? He's sending them to the other side, to Estonia and places like that, and they only have a symbolic role there. But there were hundreds in the chat room commenting like, that's not enough. We don't want to send any, we don't want them to fight. They won't fight. There won't be European or American soldiers involved in any of that. But you have these thousands of people which do not even know that about politics. They don't even understand that. And that's an educational problem.
Well, I guess it's hard for, well, foreign policy is hard for most people because, most people don't have a grounding in history and geopolitics and they don't really care. And yeah, that's why they're so easily fooled. That's why, so many people, you know, signed up to fight wars, you know, and who don't really understand what they're dying for. But, that's how people are, I guess.
Yeah, that's another issue, right? And Claire, seriously, I do understand the national interest issue, and I absolutely do understand that, but I don't think this is the right time. Now it's a time to come to compromises, stand together closely, um, like speak in the same language, if if if
Hmm.
if you can put it that way. Send the message out there, and in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, things look different again, and then we can argue about our own issues again.
All right. Well, Daniel is live with only one person watching. I'm just sort of wondering what he's going to say. So
You want to go and watch? That's no problem. Okay.
well, because I think he might be saying something about this issue, and I guess we've repeated our position a few times already, so we might go there and
Yes.
say hi to him,
Yes.
maybe.
Okay.
All
And
right.
you and me, if we don't agree on this, come on, we don't agree on a lot of things, but we can
We
still.
don't have to agree. I mean, it's more
Exactly.
entertaining for
Hmm.
those listening not to agree. But
Okay.
yeah, all
Okay,
right.
Claire. Have a good
Good.
evening.
You too. Good to speak to you.
Good to speak to you too. Bye.
Bye. Right. I'm off to have a look at Daniel's channel. So maybe see you there. Bye, guys.